Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Wander Boldly. Today I have with me Jennifer Nestor back. She is now a second-time author. She was on about a year ago with her debut, Jane's Escape to the Jungle of Individuality. At that time, she teased that there would be a series and more would be coming. Here we are, approximately a year later with her second book. She's debuting. The name of the book is Jane's Carnival Adventure. And I am just so excited. I actually reached out to her because she can teach us about marketing and advertising. She is just a superhero. She is out there marketing the book, talking about her mission, and doing all these wonderful events for children, for adults, and she just stands out. So when I'm on Instagram, I see her, I'm like DMing her, let's get together. And then it doesn't happen. I'm like, let's get together. She's like, we got to make it happen. So thank you so much for being with us today. I'm so excited to have you back.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's so great. So take us a little bit back. If you haven't listened to the previous episode, I will put a link in the show notes. Take us back a little bit on your journey of becoming an author to today in time in your second book.
Yeah, so I started my writing journey at the end of 2023 after I graduated from Southern New Hampshire University with my master's in communications. While I was in school, I was really enjoying all of the visual projects I was doing, everything that had to do with graphic design, putting presentations together for companies, and then also working on visual website design. I thought, how can I marry my skills in marketing and communications with something that I'm extremely passionate about and always wanted to do, which was write a book? I had this idea to do a kids book. Walking in my neighborhood one day, I was just thinking about like what could I write about and what is important right now for the landscape for kids, not only in my area, but across the globe. The mental health aspect stuck out to me. I hadn't seen a lot of books on the elementary school level that dealt with things like bullying and anxiety. The jungle idea came to mind for me. I started to brainstorm what could I write about? What could this story center around? And how can I teach kids in an easy way that it's okay to be unique and to be themselves? So I wrote Jane Escapes to the Jungle of Individuality. It took me about 6 to 8 months to do the writing, find the illustrator, get all of the imagery together, and then work to get the book published. So, like you mentioned, it came out in July of 24, and it was just such a great joy to be able to bring this type of story to not only online readers, but the classrooms in person. Since it launched and went live, I've been going to a lot of schools and summer camps and different nonprofit organizations and reading this book to the kids, which has been awesome. I'm really excited to continue the series with book two that we're going to talk about today. That's kind of a recap of book one.
Thank you. Now that it's been out in the world and you've been doing all of this wonderful work to bring it to communities, what is the feedback you're getting? Are you getting the feedback you thought you would? Is there anything surprising that has happened that you weren't expecting?
Yeah, that's a great question. The majority of the feedback has really been about the storyline and the use of jungle animals that all have unique features. Tim with his mohawk, Claire with the big bandana, and Avery the ape, a larger ape with spots and chain. The kids really resonate with the animal characters, and I think it helps them connect that those are things that they typically don't see like in animals online or in the zoo. So the parents and teachers have really enjoyed that correlation and making the connection in a fun way. Another piece of feedback I've gotten on multiple occasions was I'd have a parent come up to me and say that they're really glad that their child is represented in the book. So maybe they have a daughter that looks similar to Jane that has big glasses or curly brown hair or more olive skin tone. And that has been really exciting to be able to create something that kids can see themselves represented in. And then I'd also say the illustrations have been a big piece of feedback where the parents have said, like, even if my kid can't necessarily understand all the words in the story, the illustrations do a really good job helping them understand the concept and connect with the material overall. So those have been the biggest pieces of feedback so far.
And what have you done for the second book that you didn't know to do in the first book?
I think for the second book, one of my main goals was to write a shorter story because book one was more on the industry standard of pretty close to 1,000 words for a picture book. So, book two, I really wanted to make it more accessible for some of those younger kids. Since I do have programs that hit kindergarten all the way to fifth grade, I really wanted this to be a little bit more user friendly in a sense of being able to read it in a shorter amount of time because kids' attention spans can be rather short, especially in the tech generation of iPads and YouTube. The word count is less. The topics are a little bit lighter in this book. So we've really incorporated that fun aspect of still having a social emotional learning book, but in a way where it's done with less content and more imagery. So
Do you have the same illustrator that you did for the first book?
I do. Victoria and I collaborated on this second book as well. So she is the illustrator for Jane's Carnival Adventure too.
Nice. So there's a lot of synergy there, I'm sure, and that works really well. Yeah. So I'm glad that that was able to occur. That's great.
Yeah, and I think the coolest thing was seeing my new main like supporting character, Molly. The characters from book one are back in special ways. So we already knew what they looked like, but getting to design a new character that's Jane's friend in the story was really cool. I was able to help guide what Molly would look like, and she came out better than I could have envisioned in my head.
I love it. Before we jump into the second book, I just want to go back to the first because I believe you have like a Jane doll, some of the animals as well. Is that true? Tell us a little bit about the merchandise around the book.
Yep. So I've had a little bit of merchandise that goes along with the book. We actually sold out of the original Jane doll. I no longer have the first version of the doll, but we have a new Jane doll coming out. I call her Jane 2.0. She has a little bit of a glow up. She looks a little bit more like the cover of the book. Instead of having a smile line, she really has like a big doll type of smile. And then I would also say the clothes are slightly different and the backpack color. Pretty similar, same type of hair, same glasses, just a little bit of tweaking. I'm really excited about her. She should be in soon. She's already on her way as far as being shipped to the house. I also have bundles. If you visit me at a market or go onto my website, I have book and doll bundles. The first book with the doll for a certain price. You can get two books and a doll, or you can just get the Jane doll. So there are ways where you can get the merchandise either in person or online. I also have stickers and buttons that relate to the Jane character for book one.
That's great. That makes it so fun, I think, for the kids. I love that so much. It looks so fun just looking at the pictures in your Instagram and seeing all of the merchandise and the kids. It really adds a special touch to it that they can touch and play with. I love that.
I had a friend whose daughter got the Jane doll and she was bringing her in her backpack around the house all day long and sleeping with the doll. So it was really cool to see like Jane kind of travel around. Another friend of mine caught her dog snuggling with the Jane doll she had. So that was cute. And it's always nice when I get to see pictures of people who have gotten the book or the doll and seeing the kids or pets connect with it is pretty cool.
That is awesome. And so, speaking of pets, one more thing, then we're going to jump to the book,
Yeah.
the second book. How is your dog?
Winnie is amazing. She is the star of the end of the book, and I've found a way to incorporate both Winnie and Hermione and Binks, my kitties, into the class presentation. So instead of just using the character sticks and kind of having the kids raise them in the air when they see the animals. I also have a part of the presentation where I have them spot Winnie and the cats in the book and point to the screen. They've really enjoyed waiting to see Winnie at the end there, whereas the cats come in more toward the beginning. They're all sitting there staring at the screen and waiting until they see my golden doodle. That's been really cool to have them as part of this project and know that no matter what, they're represented in my first book.
I love that. That's so great. So tell us about the second book. Tease us. Don't give
Yes.
it all away.
I'll do my best. Jane's Carnival Adventure centers around Jane and her new friend Molly that she meets at school. They go to the school carnival, and basically, the whole premise is Jane is showing her newfound athleticism throughout the day with different carnival games, and she is doing amazing. She's good at darts, the dunk tank, all different types of carnival games. Molly, more of a, I would say, like, she's intelligent, she's a perfectionist, all these things. She finds herself not being as talented at these games. So she's struggling like throughout the story of like, not necessarily understanding why she's not good at these things, whereas Jane is doing a great job and getting some accolades from like students in her class and so forth. So you see kind of like a reversal in roles, whereas book one, Jane's really struggling with all these things and the animals are her guide. It's almost as if the premise in book two follows Jane teaching Molly all of the things that she learned from the animals in book one, and then really hitting the nail on the head with like perseverance, kindness, and empathy versus bullying, anxiety, etc. So it's still on the social emotional learning spectrum where we get to see all of these great things that should be taught in books, like empathy and having conversations with the two girls, but it's done in a way where, again, it's like light, it's fun, but you see like the struggle still, and then you also see a solution from Jane to Molly as far as continuing to practice and try again and so forth. This is one that I'm really excited about because it honors girls in sports in a sense and shows that athletic side, but then there's also that soft side of kindness and friendship and really being able to pump your friend up when they might not be feeling good about themselves or they're feeling that self-doubt, being able to be the person to say, hey, you might not be great at this or you might be failing at this, but that's okay. And here's what you can do about it to come back and be even stronger next year. So,
I think that follows the ending of the first book. That was part of the teaching I felt in the first book was that what Jane was learning from her animal friends was
mhm.
something she could take forward and teach somebody else.
Yeah, so it's a really nice full circle moment where you get to see her growth as a character in the second book. Instead of her being like this shy, humble person, she almost like came out of her shell immediately. Like you see just this new confidence on the first page, and it carries from point A all the way to the end of the story. So I was really excited to put her in a different place this story and let her be the guide and like try to solve these issues that she has also experienced for her new friend.
I love that. Speaking about the second book
Mhm.
and pulling in your expertise in marketing and
Yeah.
communication, how do you plan to continue what you've been doing with the first book with the second book? Are you going to read the first book, then the second book? What is your plan for that? What does that look like?
Yeah, what I try to do whenever I'm planning a strategy, especially for something like this, is take a few steps back and think about what is my goal with this book? What do I want to do with my time that makes it valuable? So I think one of the first things is focusing more on those school visits this year because I really feel like that's where this story shines and where I can make the most valuable impact. More author school visits versus markets and events. So I'm really trying to look at everything I learned from book one, from not only the way it was produced and the companies I used and so forth, but also how do I get the message out there in the most effective way where there's value in my time and others' time. I'm doing things a lot different. For book two, I will still do news, articles, podcasts, and things like that where I can have great conversations because I feel like it's really important. But I'm going to take a step back and not do as many selling events and more teaching educational events. So I kicked off this season already doing a zoo educator focused event where I was able to meet a bunch of teachers in the Duval and St. Johns County area and just talk about the books, talk about the educator resource I have, and how it can be incorporated from kindergarten to fifth grade, really leaning in on the power of the presentation and getting in front of the students. So, my goal is to read Jane Escapes to the Jungle of Individuality and Jane's Carnival Adventure to any class that I have not been to before. If I've already been to the school and have read book one to the students, I'll probably do a recap and then read the second book. There will still be the same format, leaning in on the interactive portion with the character sticks, the reading, and some type of worksheet or supplemental activity that can go with the lessons they just learned. For example, with book one, at the end, I have a Celebrate Your Differences worksheet, and that is something that can be applied from first grade all the way through fifth. They write a few things that they like about themselves in the balloon. And then what I do is I have them raise their hand and call out that thing that makes them special. And then I have the rest of their classmates clap for them. So it brings them together. This has gone really well with all the different grade levels I've done. I'll probably do something similar, but maybe it'll be carnival themed. Maybe there'll be a game of some sort. So I'm still working on like logistics of what the presentation will look like with book two. That's how I think about things as I go into these presentations with both books.
Yeah, I like that. That makes a lot of sense. And I liked how you said considering time, yours and your audiences, and getting the most out of that time together.
I feel like when I'm at a market and just selling, it takes out the personalized conversation. I really like to have one-on-one time with the person I'm talking to about this story, especially the first book, where I feel like it's important to hit on all the things it covers from a SEL standpoint. Sometimes at a market, you only have a minute or two to get someone's attention. So there's a big difference between the way that I have conversations with people versus what I've seen other authors do that might have different topics that are a little bit lighter. I think that there's a difference between going to a market to just sell your book and make money versus going to a place to really spread your message and your purpose and get more people to have the book in their hand. That is why I chose this year to focus more on the author visits and events that are tied to education versus fall markets.
And do you do any sort of charity, like an organization buying the book for schools or something like that?
Yeah, great question. So I just did Epic Behavioral Health event. So it was a rally for recovery event, and I partnered with them to get 15 books sponsored. The first 15 kids that came on Saturday were able to get the books for free. I've also worked with Big Brother, Big Sister of Northeast Florida, which myself and my husband were both mentors for that organization. I've worked with Fostering Connections St. John's and I've done a reading for those kids. I am working on a special collaboration with the USO since I'm a military spouse, and we are going to be doing special goodie bags for the Day of the Deployed. I'll be doing a reading for them. And then I've also partnered with Make-A-Wish recently and was able to get, I think there was like 20 books that we had donated to their Make-A-Wish ball here in Jacksonville. So I think those things are also really important to me to give back to the kids that might not have the opportunity to come to one of these reading schools or, might be in a tough situation in their life where maybe they need this message more than others. So yeah, that's definitely something I've incorporated with book one, and I'm really trying to push for book two as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for doing that. That just gives me chills. I just think that's so important. The work that you're doing is so important across the board, and then adding that additional piece for those that might not have the ability to get the book, to hear the lesson.
Of
That's just wonderful. Thank you for doing that.
course.
So, what can we expect in this coming year? Obviously, we're going to be talking about the book that's coming out. Tell us how to pre-order it, all the things.
Yeah, so right now, Jane's Carnival Adventure is in a pre-order status on my website. You can go to jennestorauthor.com, click on the Shop Now tab, and you'll see that you have the capability of pre-ordering at a discounted rate. You could also pre-order Jane's Carnival Adventure with the first book. If you have not purchased book one yet, I have a bundle on there with the doll as well. When you pre-order, you will probably receive your book more in the beginning of October. It won't come right away. I'll manage all of the shipping and put it in a beautiful bag with stickers and other goodies for your support. The live launch is actually going to be on October 7th. So it's a Tuesday. That is when you'll be able to see the book more on platforms like Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, etc. You'll get a better rate if you pre-order on the website than you will when it comes out on there.
And can people order the book and donate it?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we did for my first Kickstarter campaign last year is we had a sponsored tier where people were able to get two books and they were donated to different organizations around Jacksonville. If somebody wanted to purchase a book as a sponsorship, they can purchase it online and then leave a note or shoot me an email that they'd like for that to be donated. I'd be more than happy to provide extra books to some of those organizations I was mentioning earlier in our chat. So my
Great.
email is jennifernestorauthor@gmail.com, and I'm pretty quick to respond. So I'd be happy to do that.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on again. I appreciate your time. I'm so excited for you. So excited for everyone who's going to read the book, myself included. I can't wait. I'll be pre-ordering for sure, and I'll pre-order and donate as well. I just think that's so important. Thank you so much for doing this again, and I can't wait to watch this unfold and hear more about what you're doing next.
Thanks, Christine. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.